Hey folks, we're back, and here we go. I got one thing I'm going to lead off with, and then I've got to get Dwayne to kick in with a few complaints here.
I never have any complaints about anything.
Well, a few opinions.
I don't have any opinions.
The facts.
Somebody told me once, I had known him very long. He says, "You are one of the most opinionated people I've ever met." I wasn't insulted. I was, thank you.
Yeah. Well, obviously, a man of strong will.
And my wife said, "Him, opinionated?"
So let's go to the other extreme. Mitt Romney is retiring from politics.
Saw that.
Was there a more wishy-washy bozo in the political scene?
No, but he's also one of the smartest guys was out there. That's the problem. He didn't come across as strong, but he was
Didn't come
extremely
across as one of the guys.
No, he did not.
He were in with a pack of guys, all right, and you said, "Who's interested in going for a beer?"
Oh, that would never happen. First of all, he's Mormon, but
Yeah, but he would be, if I was saying, "Hey, Eddie, Jack, John, Bob, let's go for a beer," he would be the last one that I would invite. I mean, he is about as outgoing and about as
he's not.
personable as looking at paint dry.
But I would have no qualms about him going into a foreign situation and sitting down with a foreign leader.
Mm-hmm.
Because he'd analyze whatever was going on. You know who else came across as nothing was Jimmy Carter.
Oh, yeah.
He was one of the smartest presidents we've ever had, education-wise. He was a PhD nuclear engineer. But he never came across that way. He always came across as a peanut farmer.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of people say that. But I've also heard stories from my travels when I was down in Georgia from people that have opinions too. But they said, yeah, he is. He could explain to you how nuclear fission works and make you understand it.
Well, he wasn't a politician. That's the problem.
But when a practical matter came, he'd say, "What end of the hammer do I hold?
Yeah.
How does a screwdriver work? Where do I buy bread?"
That's not that uncommon. That's not that uncommon.
Yeah. But by the same token, he was working with nuclear power plants and everything. He had somebody buying bread for him. He had somebody registering the car for
years
him.
ago, and I don't remember who it was a politician or a well-known leader of some kind, didn't know hadn't been in a supermarket in 30 years, 40 years. He didn't know anything about UPCs or anything like that. What's that for? I know. How they do that? He just wasn't ever involved in it.
George W. Bush.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was amazed that they scanned stuff at the pay counter. Couldn't get over that.
But us, we gotta grovel with the unwashed, don't we? We have to go to the store. We have to go to the gas station.
Put up with all the nonsense.
That's right.
So I must tell you folks out there in TV land, my Billy tip of the show. I was out in my front yard and I had a for sale sign in my son's car because he wants to get a new car and his car is in good shape. I said, let's put a for sale sign on it and put it in the front yard. The dealer's not going to give you anything.
Are we talking about the Jeep or is this a different son?
Peter.
Oh, Peter, okay.
Yeah. And he's got a Nissan Altima.
Okay.
So I'm standing out there by it, and I got a sign in it and a description, and this guy comes by in a pickup truck and slams on the brakes, pulls into my yard. Now, this is the worst looking pickup truck I've ever seen. Rusted out. And this guy was shaky. He comes over. What's this car all about? I said, for sale. You know, my brother's kids are looking for a car. So I told him about it. And I said, you want me to start it up? And no, it's all right. I know it runs good. I bet you. I said, well, look, sit in it. It's clean as a whistle. I don't need to look at it. So then he says to me, you got some big cracks in your driveway. I said, really? Yeah. He says, you should get that driveway sealed. He said, hey, I finished up my last job and I got a half a load of sealant. It's the best sealant you could possibly ever use.
That's so
I could put it down for you and I could be done before dark.
Yep.
And I said to him, I don't want it sealed. How about if I give you, look, I got to bring this back to the shop. How about, I don't want to do that. I'll give you a break on the price. I said, I'm not interested, really. You got a big driveway here. I'll tell you what. How's $1,400 sound to you? I said, sounds like you're about set to leave. I said, hit the road. He said, 13.
Oh, yeah. They think they just sometimes won't give up.
So I said, see you later.
Yeah, they're right.
Go. So he left. Now, he was no more interested in my car.
None whatsoever.
It was a conversation starter.
Yeah.
I'm standing out in my front yard, here's a driveway, and here's a reason to stop and talk to
I
me.
told you, I had a couple of years ago, a guy pull in. He didn't have a beat-up pickup. He had a beautiful truck, bright red with the wheels and just like came out of a showroom. And he said, I can't notice that you got cracks and stuff in your driveway, where the roots and stuff had gone on there. And he says, yeah, it's been a while since I've sealed it. I used to do that myself. But he says, we're building a new Stop and Shop on the other side of town. And I got a lot of stuff left over. And I could bring that over here and put it in and get it done. Boy, I said, get the hell out of here. I said, you know how old that scam is? I said, Gypsy's been pulling that for 50 years, maybe 100 years. Oh, no. I said, get out. I said, I got your license number now. I actually called the Norfolk PD and I said, yeah, you're about the fourth one that called for this scam. He said, we're looking for him.
So this guy quoted me 1,400, then 1,300. Well, quite a few people in our neighborhood have had their driveway sealed because there's a contractor, a legit contractor that did one, and then word of mouth
goes to the others. That's right.
So I went out of my way to go over to talk to one of the neighbors. So I said, Jeepers Creepers. I said, who did this? And he told me. It's a well-known contractor in town, from Franklin, actually. Been in business for 100 years. He says, yeah, he says he did a good job. I said, what's the ballpark on this? He said, I don't know. He says, I paid $400.
Yeah.
So I told him the story. He said, man, he says, there's one bond every minute, but he'll find somebody and soak him for 14. But he says, I paid 4. So my friends paid roughly that.
There used to be a TV series called something like My Big Fat Gypsy Wedding. And they would talk about themselves pulling these kind of the guys, and they'd travel around and they'd go this, how much they were making and how many scams they ran on people.
Yep. So friends, if somebody pulls up in your yard and says, I got some sealant in the back in my tank back there, and I can make you a super deal.
No.
Go in the house and call the police.
Yeah. 'Cause there's no such thing as
Because
that.
number one, he doesn't have a license to do it. Number two, he doesn't have any insurance to do it. Number three, he's going to kill you with price. And number four, he's going to put down sealant that's closer to water
That's
than
right.
it is sealant.
That's right.
Crap. So don't do it. Legit guys don't do business.
That's as
like
bad as you walk into a parking lot and the guy says, Psst, come over here. Look at his trunk. He says, you need some stereo equipment? He said, it's one, they just fell off a truck, he tells you, or else he had to deliver it to a vendor and he didn't want it. But if he takes it back now, his boss is going to fire him. So he's got to sell it and get something out of it. It's junk. That's why he's pushing it. That guy did that. Called me over one time at the Holiday Inn up at Route 20 there on 128.
Yes.
He had a whole bunch. I said, that's garbage. That's just, those speakers aren't worth $2. Oh no, I said, they're not.
The last time I talked to a guy that was pulling that crap, guess what he said to me? It's all warranted.
Yeah, oh yeah, by who?
From you?
Yeah.
Selling stuff out of your trunk or out of the back of your SUV? Give me a break.
I always laugh when I hear about a warranty or guarantee.
Yeah.
Well, if the company's not around, that guarantee's not worth
How
anything.
about the crap they sell on TV?
Yeah.
Oh, look, here's a plastic widget. You can use this to clean the wax out of your ears. It's guaranteed for 20 years.
Yeah.
Well, the company is probably going to be out of business in a week.
Oh yeah.
Once
Once they
fold
sell
it
out
up.
what they got,
Yeah,
they're gone.
That's it. Where do you go for the warranty? Yeah. Ay, ay, ay. Give me something to complain about, Dwayne.
Should strikers, UAW is, I don't know, today they're going to walk?
They did.
Last night?
They did. They went out.
Should they or should they not be able to draw unemployment while they're on the picket line? That was one of the questions at the Globe.
Usually, the unions have
We
a
know what
strike
they, yeah, we
fund.
know what they do, but the point was some of them want to be able to draw
No.
state unemployment while they're striking.
Unemployment carries with it the fact that you had a job and you turned your back on it and walked away. All right? That's the unemployment they're talking
Yeah,
about.
that's a guy.
Yeah. Where some guy that gets laid off, okay, he's entitled to
He's entitled.
unemployment.
That's my,
Yeah.
that was
Yeah.
that was a point counterpoint
But
thing.
when a guy has a job and he's making $1,000 a week, and he walks away from it because he wants more, that's on him.
That's right. That is totally on him. And I don't want state people or state taxpayers paying for those guys to walk a picket line. You wanna, I don't say you may or may not have a right to do it. I don't care. But you're doing it. So you do it voluntarily. And consequences are consequences. If the union's not going to pay you enough that you think, well, that's too bad. And
Find another job.
find another job. That's right.
Yeah. What else you got?
The Lax family. Remember them?
Who?
Lax.
No.
Back in the 50s or 40s, this woman had a medical process. And they found out she had some kind of special cells.
Sickle cells.
Whatever, they were perfect for research.
Mm-hmm.
And they took some of them
Yes.
and used them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now the great grandkids or whoever the hell
Yeah.
they are, they want millions and millions of dollars.
Yeah. Because people have been buying mutations of those cells for their research. And somewhere 8 or 9 or 10 transactions downstream,
Yeah.
someone made a discovery.
That's right.
Yeah.
Where they came from.
And it's sickle cell anemia.
And they're just totally they're so upset about it.
Well, first of all, the lady, it was back in 1948, I believe.
Yeah, simply in the 40s.
volunteered
Yeah.
for this and walked away, and no one ever knew about this string of cells that were mutated off of that one
Yep.
series of cells. And it had nothing to do with her or her relatives or anybody or the people that initiated it and the first ones that had it and the second ones that had it, and some guy working with cells.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And this was the sample. Well, I mean, it's ridiculous.
It is. People today are so conscious of getting something for nothing.
You're absolutely right. Look at Gen Z. I don't want to go to work. I want to stay home and lay around.
I'm going to quit.
Mm-hmm.
If I got to go, particularly if I got to go back to that office.
Oh,
my goodness
horror
gracious!
of horrors.
Horror of horror. Look, folks, I don't know how many of you work from home, but I did for years and years and years. Oh my God, I'm probably by the time I got out of management and purchasing, where I had to go into an office, and I went to work for a tool company as a district manager. The district manager's office was one of my bedrooms upstairs that I made into an office. And since then, there was only one stretch of time that I had to go to an office, and then I wasn't in there every day. But I don't care how dedicated and how serious a worker you are, you tend to smudge a little bit here and there. If your wife goes and says, maybe she's leaving for the day, and she says, we need milk, and she says, okay, I'll run over this afternoon and get it. Or pick up the grocery, pick up the laundry, or go there to do this, do that. You always do that. You know, sometimes you get 3 o'clock, well, I'm done. And it was even days when it was a nice day and one of my salespeople would call, do you want to play golf? Yeah, okay.
What the heck? Why not? Not doing anything else.
It wasn't a busy day.
Huh?
I didn't have to go to the office and pretend I was busy if I wasn't busy. The people that do that are working. And it is a lot easier existence. Number one, it takes that commute out.
Yep.
And as bad as that commute is, when it's bad out, it is a beast
1 hour each way. That's
Yeah.
2 hours out of your life.
out of your life. Today it's expensive
Oh, yes.
and even dangerous.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you take those factors, you know, that stay at home, work at home has a lot of advantages. So much so that some of these people say, well, if I got to go back to the office, I'm not going.
And now, with all the advances in computers and
Yep.
Zooms and all of that sort of stuff, I mean, you can be very efficient.
Oh, you absolutely can.
Yeah, just as efficient as if you were sitting at your desk in the office.
That's right.
Especially if you have something like a customer service kind of role where, look, you'll have to talk to our technical group about the problems you're having with your transmission in your car. Yeah, let me switch you on over, and they switch you to you at home.
Yeah.
You can do just as good a job at home
Oh, yeah.
with access to all the programs you have and all the information
As you could.
as you could at the office with less distractions.
Right.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you got to set a point where you can't deal with distractions.
You get distractions in the office too. They wear short skirts.
Oh my God! You got the water cooler and the
Yep.
Monday gossip and the
Blah,
Tuesday
blah,
gossip,
blah, blah,
Oh, yeah.
blah.
A
And
lot of time gets wasted in an
Yep.
office situation.
that's right. But by the same token, at home, Billy, you said you were going to get the car washed today. Billy, when are you going to do something about that leaking pipe? And
Yeah, I got.
Yeah.
Everybody gets that.
So,
Plus, I had a big distraction for a while. It was called a Siamese cat.
ah,
I had to shut that door and listen to him whine on the other side because he hated closed doors,
yeah, they all do.
and he wanted on your lap or he wanted on your keyboard.
but
Or
he
on your-
wanted to be with you.
Yeah, oh yeah, he wanted to be with
And if
somebody.
he'd come in and curl up
Yeah,
and
I
go
mean-
to sleep, it'd be fine.
No, but he don't.
No.
He wants to sleep on the desk wherever you're trying to do something.
Yeah.
But speaking of the not working from home, that has created, I think, maybe unforeseen, some real estate problems. Some of these buildings now are empty. These office complexes.
Yes, they are.
They're empty. The landlords are not. They're not generating money. The landlord's still got huge payments on these
Mortgages.
multi-billion-dollar buildings.
Got to pay off the loan.
Some of these are sitting on the edge of bankruptcy now. I never thought of that being a consequence, but it is.
It's a big consequence. And also, what's an interesting thing too is that in New York City, in some of the buildings, the owners of the buildings, they don't care because they get the people locked into 15 or 20-year leases.
On it.
Give me a break on the lease, and I'll sign a 10-year lease, sure. Well, 2 years into it, this happens. So they are paying the lease for nothing, for an empty apartment or whatever it is.
Oh yeah, it's
But the owner is collecting.
another one that's really bite me. Student debt.
Oh,
By no way, shape, or form should we ever consider a cross-the-board blanket forgiveness of student debt. This debt was not forced on these kids. There was no gun put to their head. They knew when they were borrowing what it is, how much it's going to cost, and how much the payment's going to be. But they waded right into it anyway, and then they want somebody else to bail them out of it.
you're absolutely right. I couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah.
Now, the argument Elizabeth Warren
Oh, I
would
know
make,
the argument. Go ahead.
they were young. They wanted to go to college. They weren't sophisticated. Colleges stuffed a contract in front of them and they signed it. They didn't know what they were signing. But yet, this beauty that Massachusetts has gotten, the Cherokee Indian,
Yep.
wants to lower the voting age to
Yeah.
16.
Oh my God.
They're not able to sign a contract when they're 18 or 19. They're not smart enough. But she
Yeah.
wants them voting at 16.
16. That's right. It's exactly right.
I mean, talk about being, she should be impeached over that statement.
And then the Globe says student debt rears its ugly head for many after pause. And then the second headline inside says student debt rears its ugly head for borrowers after 3.5-year pause. Now, you take an example of somebody, you want to make a point. I don't think they could have picked a worse one. Here's a kid, and he's not a kid, I shouldn't say kid. He owes $279,000. He borrowed $250,000. But he hasn't paid anything, so interest has been accruing. Now, he has a bachelor's degree. He has 2 master's degrees. And he's trying to make a startup company on his own. He thinks that the taxpayer should bail him out at $279,000.
So that he could start a company
Start
and
up a
get rich.
company and maybe get rich on it. But he shouldn't be saddled with that debt. My God, how am I ever going to get rid of it? Well, you got 2 master's degree, one in sociology and one in anthropology, for Christ's sake.
Yeah.
Of course you're not going to make any money doing that. And so he's decided he not going to make any money, but now he's starting up some kind of a social company on his own. That's not the purpose of maybe helping somebody with debt. I can see a kid that's owes $40,000, $50,000, develops a I don't know, some
Some
MS
computer
or something,
widget
or
thing,
MS
or,
or
yeah.
something like that, and can't work. I mean, creditors are coming after him, or her. Yeah, that kid needs relief.
Absolutely.
But these kind of characters don't need relief.
You know, and not
Oh,
only
I
that,
know.
but you know who's behind that?
Oh, of course.
The parents.
Sure.
The parents are wealthy. They send them to a school.
Two,
Yeah,
three
and-
private schools,
Yes,
not
yeah,
a
and to-
UMass
And
or
to take out the loans.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
Don't worry
We'll
about it.
finesse them later.
Yep,
And that's how the rich get rich and stay rich.
that's right. And you and I, and people a hell of a lot less off than we are, should be paying for this guy. I know there's another one in here, a young lady. Well, she doesn't think she should have to pay her $119,000 she owes. Why? She wants to travel. And if she's got to start making payments now, it's going to interfere with her world travel that she wants to do. Well, la-di-da.
My word.
Good heavens. Poor,
Well-
poor thing.
Why don't you and I kick in the 119 and so she can travel?
so she
I
can
feel
travel,
really
yeah.
bad for her. Again, Dwayne,
Yeah.
again, it is the rich. Scamming the system. I'm going to travel. My kids never said that.
Yeah.
They traveled to Norwood or Franklin. That's about as far as they went. I mean,
Her name is Shepherd.
yeah.
Expects her payments to be around $400 a month. Under the SAVE program, she added that this will take away from her travel budget.
Life's a bummer,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Oh my goodness.
We ought to have a bean supper benefit for her.
I think we should have a benefit for all these poor
Yeah.
people that are.
I'm telling you. Oh, by the way, one more quick point. Let me go back to the seal guy one more time.
Oh, okay. I thought
So-
you were talking about
Nope. Yeah.
seal.
So the good contractor that did the good work, established guy
Yep.
and everything, told my friend, he said, please don't give anybody else my name. I got more work than I can handle. And my office manager, who had been with me for, I don't know, 9 years, 11 years, or whatever, she quit the other day. He said, and I've kind of downsized my company. My sons run the construction end of things. I just do this. He said, so now I get all the phone calls.
Oh, I can imagine.
So she quit very reluctantly, but it was because of the abuse she was taken by the callers. What do you mean he's not there? Where is he? I need to talk to him now. And getting insulting and swearing at her. And finally, she didn't have a breakdown, I don't think, but finally she got to the point where she said, I cannot take it any longer. So he tried to talk her into staying. She wouldn't have it. He's fielding all the calls now with the miracle of the cell phone.
Yeah.
He said, I cannot believe the abuse that she took. It's the same abuse that I'm getting. I want an answer now. When can you do it? I need a price now. When are you gonna do blah, 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 blah. And he said, they are demeaning, they are demanding, they're
Yep.
insulting. He said, I'm gonna retire. He said, my boys can handle the construction end of things. But that's America today.
Yeah. People do not learn that the person on the other end of that phone or across the aisle from you or the counter can help you or hurt you or not help you. So 2 out of 3 is not good. Only 1. And if you think you're going to get helped by insulting that person, you're badly mistaken.
Yeah, that just doesn't work that way.
It doesn't work that way.
Doesn't work that way at all.
It's
like arguing with your waitress.
Yeah.
She's gonna
She didn't
handle
cook
your
it. She doesn't have
food.
anything to do with it.
Yeah.
I've got so much, seen it so many times. Well, you too, traveling.
Yeah.
The flight gets canceled. It's snowing in Boston. They can't take off. I mean, we were stuck in, I think, Milwaukee or Indianapolis one day. And we landed there. We weren't even supposed to land there, but they were going to Boston. Boston's closed. So we were in a line, and this guy in front of me is, do you know I got to be there at 4 o'clock today? Do you know who I am? And demanding stuff.
That's a good way to start a conversation.
Oh, and she had the perfect answer. She looks back at the line. She says, does anybody know who this guy is? He apparently can't remember. Well, that made him madder. And she just couldn't. She said, I can't help you. There's nothing going. She says, everything here east is down.
One of my bosses was a real idiot. I went to Phoenix, Arizona. I had some appointments out there with some would-be distributors, and it was one of these. I was out there I always took off on Tuesdays, and I'd work Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and come home Saturday. Empty planes. Tuesday's the slowest day of the week,
Yep.
Saturday is slow. Best rates, too. So I get out there, and New England had that snowstorm of 20-something years ago. They
Storm of the
shut-
century thing. It shut
So
we just got out. We went to Aruba, and we just got out at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, and that was it.
you're lucky.
Yeah.
So I called in, and I said, I'm stranded out here. Dick, he had a hissy fit. This is just poor planning on your part.
Yeah, you knew that was going to
I
happen.
said, I knew, yeah, that's exactly what I said. Like, I knew that snowstorm was coming.
Yeah.
Well, you should be aware of things like that. I said, and what could I do to change it? Could I tell God not to snow
Yeah, I
in
know.
Boston until I got back? Well, you're spending more money out there. So anyway, I must admit that I did not try to come back quickly because of that. I spent a couple of extra days. I spent 4 or 5 days out there, even though I could have gone back. Yeah. I said, no.
Anyway, my story's got a little bit of an end to it. It gave me a lot of satisfaction. He walks away in a huff. She says she can't help him. Maybe you want to try some other airline, see if he can't get out that way. And I walk up and I said, I just heard that. She says, I could put both of you on first class in about 4 hours. And I said, tell me, she said, I said, were those seats available when he was yelling and screaming at you? She said, I can't say. Maybe. She had first class seats in a flight leaving in 4 hours when it was probably going to go. But he made such a fuss. She told him she had nothing. Go try another airline. What a fool he was. She said, I can't say, but maybe.
She got her pound of flesh.
Oh, she did too, yeah.
Oh,
I
man.
said, Mark, I said, see, they can help you or they can hurt you.
I overheard when I went to pick up my rental car one time. This guy was screaming.
That's
at the
another. You
people.
can get good cars if you're really nice to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
is screaming at the lady. I'm telling you, sir, do not have a Lincoln Town Car for you. Because she says, you're one of our regular users. You pay the mid-level price. We'll give you anything we have.
That's right.
I don't have one.
They don't have one. They don't have one.
He stormed off. And so I checked in, and I just didn't, I didn't ask her what they had or anything. I just went out to the line, So I found the guy that drives the cars. And I reached in my pocket, I got a $5 bill. I said, you got any Lincolns that are back in the cleanup area that are coming up? He said, what color would you like?
Oh, yeah. That's...
Because I always liked the big Lincoln Town cars. But you're nice to people. So it cost you $5. It went on the expense account.
Before Vegas, that's why we ended up with a Mustang GT 500. That was probably, in hindsight, was interesting, but it was a mistake.
Yeah. They're not practical.
Very uncomfortable car.
Yep.
Super powerful, just unbelievable, but hard riding. It hurt your butt, it hurt your back. Getting in and out was a horror show.
I had to rent a car, and it's a long story. I don't go into it, but so I rented this car. I went back to the office. I said, well, all right, I'm going to put my supplies, my crap in the back for tomorrow. I'm going to make some sales calls, blah, blah, blah. Open the trunk. Here's garbage in the back. The guy never cleaned the trunk out when the guy turned the car in.
Somebody missed it.
I said, well, this is unacceptable. So a good guy probably would have just thrown the trash away. And not me, I brought it back. It wasn't that far. It was, and I said, gee, I was a little surprised in the trunk of the car. And he goes,
At least it
why?
At least it wasn't a body.
Yeah. That would have been worse. I said, I was a little surprised. And he said, what? Let me see. Comes out and opens it. I said, oh, man. He slammed the trunk down. He said, come on back in the office. He said, look, he said, here's a BMW 535, which that's our best luxury car. Take this. He said, and by the way, he said, I noticed that you just won it for Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Why don't you keep it for the weekend, too? On me.
If you're decent about it, they do stuff for you.
Yeah. I could have gone back to yelling and screaming and what kind of a flock outfit are you folks and blah, 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 but just go back. Somebody made a mistake. So, and he made it right. My kids liked it.
Oh, I bet they did. Can we keep it, Dad?
Shoot. You know what you never see anymore?
What's that?
Men smoking a pipe.
That's right. You don't.
You don't see women smoking a pipe either.
But I mean,
unless it's a crack pipe.
Yeah, but they just look like a glass tube.
Glass tube. But pipes you were sophisticated. You were urbane. You were high level kind of a guy.
My father-in-law smoked a pipe.
Yeah.
And I did for a while. There was certain tobaccos that were really good. And some there's one called Cherry Blend. It smelled great when somebody else was smoking it.
Yeah.
But it was terrible if you're smoking. Oh, it was hard in your mouth and everything. But I used to get a blend. It had a long cut, long string, and it had a sailing ship on it. And that was really nice stuff. I don't remember anymore what it was. But.
I know. I knew some pipe smokers. I know one guy that smoked Holiday. I remember thinking to myself, you know what? That smells really good.
No, it does. Some of the pipes really smell great. Well, have you noticed that the T is goes from one catastrophe to the next now.
Yeah, that's what the T stands for.
Yeah.
Catastrophe.
But
They can't spell in there.
it always was,
Yep.
but it was always covered up.
Unions run the place.
That's right. It was everything was covered up. Because don't forget, and I cannot, I don't have black and white proof of this. A lot of this was just circumstantial hearsay, etc. But I think it was probably true, seeing how the T was. We moved here 50 years ago, and we were at a neighborhood party, and I didn't know anybody. And they said, well, you know, how do you find in Massachusetts? And I said, well, it was interesting. I said, I never lived in a place that had a rapid transit place. And I said, you know, that'd be an interesting place to work. I said, probably be a good place to work. And one of them says, do you have a relative that's a politician or any big? I said, no. He says, well, you can't get on the T. He says, every job other than sweeping up or even those jobs,
Even those jobs, because they pay them the same
Yeah.
as motormen.
are all pointed. He says it's all what they call it,
Patronage.
cronyism, patronage, and cronyism. He says the only way you could ever get a job on a T, he says, if you got a couple of $10,000 tapped on to this guy and to this guy, and then they'd probably look at you.
Yeah. If you get enough money, you can get out.
Yeah, but you got to pay off a lot of people.
You know,
So I thought, so as years went by and I saw what was happening there, I thought, you know, that's true. And what happened, it's just like the Peter Principle, they rise to the level of incompetence. Well, these guys that get appointed as patronage or cronyism, if they can't function in one job, they probably get promoted and then they're done. But then they corrode the whole system. And that's what happened, I think, to the T. It got so many layers of incompetence that never should have been fired in the first place, that the place just broke down.
it was a joke, an inside joke, but it wasn't a secret, that lots of guys, especially on the midnight shift, slept.
Oh yeah.
Do you know, in the city of Boston, I had a friend who was a head janitor of a school, and during the summer, things slowed down, or needless to say, and he would work nights at Foxborough Racetrack, cashing tickets.
Yep.
Pat, his name was. He said, so I said, this must be tough. I said, on you. I said, you work all day at the school and then come and put in 5 or 6 hours here at the track. Not really, Bill. He said, I'm the boss. There's three workers and me. He said, so we get everything done the first week that we're down, and there's nothing left to do. So we sleep. He said, I go into work in the morning and I sleep. I sleep most of the day. And 2 of my 3 guys I allow to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
1 guy has to stay awake, and they rotate.
Yeah.
He said, so for the entire summer, he said, we work the first week that the school is out, and we work the first week before school comes back.
That's right.
The rest of the time, we sleep straight through.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, so much. Well, it just so happened the house I was in, neighbor across the street, was an MBTA person.
Oh.
But he's on disability. He got hurt. Well, I didn't know he's on disability. I met him out in the yard when he's climbing up his roof with the 80-pound packs of shingles. He's putting the new shingles on his house. I'm talking to him. And Jimmy, the guy next door that told me, well, you can't get on there unless you know somebody. I said, I thought he was on disability. He said, oh, he is. But he says he fakes it. He's been on disability for 3 or 4 years, but you can see he does heavy manual labor. And he does other people's roofs too, not his own. So I said, I'd like to take a picture of him up there, shingling. And Jimmy said, don't bother. If you sent it in, notarized it, wouldn't go anyplace. It would just get dropped in the can someplace.
Goodbye.
Nobody wants to know. And honest to God, Bill,
I know.
one day, and I called Monica, I said, look, I don't know, Joey or whatever it is. Joey's going for his 30-day interview or whatever. He came out of the house with a neck brace and a cane and hobbled, or kind of walked over to the car, threw the cane in, and I said, when he gets out of that car, he's going to be just barely able to walk with that neck brace. He's going to get home, he's going to go right back to shingling.
Another well-kept secret, going now back in the 50s and 60s, when I knew people. The Registry of Motor Vehicles.
Another one.
Another graveyard for workaholics. That was civil service. You got to take a civil service exam to be a registry inspector.
Okay.
And they had the same pay grade as the state policeman.
Yeah, okay.
And they're the guys that ran the different offices and also tested you and all that stuff. For years, not one man was hired as a registry inspector that was not a veteran with a disability.
Yep.
Plenty of veterans put in for the jobs. You had to have the double whammy. You get extra points for the disability.
Yeah. Well, at least it wasn't somebody's brother-in-law.
Yeah.
All the way through.
Well, I say that, but
Probably
it could well be
both, yeah.
that he did have a brother-in-law that explained the effects of life to him and all that. So he had to go get a disability, from the VA.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes that's not the hardest thing in the world to get. You don't get buried with cash, but you may get 20% or something like that. And that's it. Ka-ching! You're on the job.
I think that new guy, I forgot his name, that just took over the T.
Mm-hmm.
He's finding a rat's nest.
Yeah.
And he's not afraid to say, we got a problem here. I see they're closing up some more. Plus they got the feds on them now. There's some sleepless nights over there, I think.
I would really hope, Ken, that that's true. Because if that guy can clean up the T, he will, you know what? If God ever decides to retire, they should move him up there.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be one of the great miracles of all times.
I read one time how they function. Well, I know how they function because one of my companies I worked for, we used to sell to them. That was a flim-flam also. Now, I'm not saying it's like this today, but years ago, you didn't sell directly to the T. You sold them to a distributor who sold them to the T, because anything under $500 they didn't have to put out for public bid. So you sold it to a distributor, then the T would break their requisitions down into $200, $300, $400 purchases, so nobody was the wiser. It was just always, and a lot of times the distributor was owned by the guy's wife or somebody at the T.
In my line of work, I ran into that more than once.
That was, yeah.
And I was happy to go along with the plan, let me tell you.
Oh yeah, otherwise you don't do business with them.
A coal mine down in West Virginia.
Yep.
Supply house calls me up, says, we need to place an order for a bunch of ball valves and our regular supplier can't do it. Somebody gave us your name. Okay. So we need 72 1-inch stainless steel ball valves with actuator. Oh, nice package. some, oh, I mean, it was 60 grand or so.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, yeah, we can do that. I said, in fact, I can do that in 2 weeks. Oh, he said, bless you. So send me up an order. We did it, send it down. After that, I start getting phone calls from him. Well, I need these. I need those. I never had to go before them, their engineering department, and show them the stuff I was selling them. Nothing. I was selling it to them. Come to find out, this guy was something Mountain Supply. I remember the name of it. I just don't want to get sued if they're still in business. And he was a one-man operation. His father was the head of purchasing for the coal mine. So he'd get a quote in from the people that were doing business, bring it home, give it to his son,
Yeah.
say, find the equal for that.
Yeah, this is what they'll pay.
Yeah. And the son, and of course, we could always beat those because their prices were inflated. They had down there, they were playing the game with the other outfit too, but I could always beat their pricing. And I lived off that for about 1.5 years, 2 years.
yeah.
And guess what happened? Called up and found out that the number has been discontinued. So I made a couple of calls down there. I knew another guy that worked that territory. He says, oh, it's in the papers down here. The FBI arrested him and his father both.
Well, you know, the T, remember the time we had that snowstorm that just, it wasn't the Blues of 78, it was the one that shut down the T and everything,
Oh, yeah.
trains couldn't go. Remember what happened with the director, the head of the T? She
Probably got a
disappeared.
promotion.
No, she disappeared.
Really?
Overnight the storm, and had nothing going, and she was nowhere to be found. She just gone. Quit. Like left a note on the desk, and I quit. She wasn't going to mess with that. She didn't know what, well, first of all, she didn't know what to do. All the things she ever did for years was sign a check or sign a report or smile nice for a photo op. But when it came time to a real problem, she couldn't handle it.
Yeah. No, a lot of people like that.
Yep.
A lot of people like that, including one of my bosses, up 2 levels. And every once in a while, he'd get a call from an irate customer. And
yeah.
if it was my product, he'd come to me and say, Henny Penny, the sky is fallen act. And you got to handle this. You got to handle this. I don't know what the hell he's talking about. I don't know what he wants. But he just run away from it.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, and
There are people that do not want any confrontation of
Right.
any kind.
sad.
One
Hey,
time I had to tell this guy was a warehouse manager in one of the jobs, and he was one of those the lunch truck guys that come around in the morning for
Oh, yeah.
coffee with donuts and sandwiches, and he had the worst stuff you ever saw.
Oh, they all do.
People would buy a milk or chocolate milk and have to spit it out, it curdled and stuff. Oh my God! So everybody decided, well, this guy's got to go. So we told the warehouse manager, tell him that no more. He's not to stop here. He wouldn't do it. I can't tell him that. I don't want to tell him that. I don't want to. I don't know. I think he was just.
Just a weenie.
He would not confront anybody with anything. I said, all right, I'll do it. I just told him. I lost a good bookie though too on that one, because he was also a bookie.
Mm-hmm.
And every week we played the card or whatever it was with all the football.
football
team.
card, yeah.
Football card. Never won anything, but it was an easy place to.
Yeah. Spend a couple
Yeah.
of bucks. I had one of my mentors at the Foxborough Company. Foxborough Company is very good about that. They'd give you somebody you could talk to.
Oh, okay.
Mentor you in your department, or in the general area that you worked in. And one guy I talked to, I'd get some advice from. He said, I'm going to give you the best advice I can give you. You've been promoted now to supervisor. Learn how to say no.
Yeah. That's the
He
problem
said
with a lot of people. They can't say
They
no.
can't say no.
Yep.
I mean, we had a guy that used to get nervous and break out in hives when crises arose, like somebody quits and the project is floating in midair, and he would just go all to pieces.
How many people in your sales career did you run across that couldn't handle rejection? They didn't last long. But if you can't handle some rejection, you're in the wrong business.
I'll give you one quick story. We'll have just enough time for it. We hired a guy in order entry, which was, when you joined the Foxborough company, you were a grunt,
Yep.
then you were a senior grunt, and then you became, sort of a guy that could do a bunch of things. Then there was, if you were good, you could get promoted to maybe the billing department or
Okay.
order entry. And then once you did that, you started to get an education on where all the stuff did. Well, we hired this kid. He was fresh out of the Marines. And clean cut guy, 25 years old, really squared away. And he had a girl training him. And he did not like that one bit, being trained by a girl.
Yep, that was.
And so as a result, he did not take the training well. So what you did when you finished an order, writing up an order, you went up to the box and you grabbed the next file folder and you brought it back to your desk, you opened it up, and it was the customer's order. And he's telling you what he wants, how it's to be built, what it's going to be used for. You just have to check all that stuff. And then you write it up in Foxborough Company language on a separate piece of paper, pass it back, and it goes back in the system and gets run off and goes down the factory. Well, this guy could not remember the stuff the girl taught him, and she was with him for 2 weeks, and he never sunk in. He was rejecting it.
Yeah.
So my boss came to me one night and he said, Bill, he said, we're missing orders. He said, we put orders in the bin to be taken care of by you guys, brought out, and then processed. He said, some of the numbers have disappeared. I said, what?
Yeah.
He said, it's like somebody's hiding orders. Well, I stayed late one night. I went through everybody's desk. I went through his desk. Bottom drawer, underneath the newspaper, about 50 orders.
Yeah, you couldn't handle them.
He could not do them, and because of the Marines, can do. You're a Marine, you can do anything. He could not bring himself to go back and ask.
No, he just couldn't admit that he made a mistake.
That's right. Yeah, couldn't handle it. And so they presented him with the pile, and the next morning that I found, and my boss said to him, what are we going to do about this? And he said nothing. And he got up, walked, and left.
Yep.
Never saw him again.
Better off for everybody.
Yeah. Well, folks, this has been a disjointed show. Well, we've got off on tangents.
We usually do.
Yeah. So we'll do it again in a couple of weeks.
Yep.
How's that?
And according to the forecast, we're going to have a beautiful fall as far as foliage goes because we've had so much rain.
Yeah.
We're looking for a record type of color.
Yeah.
We'll see.
So we'll see. So take care of yourselves. Oh, man, I forgot about this story.
Let's tuck it in there.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, the veteran.
The
Medal of
veteran
Honor
that
guy.
was given the Congressional Medal of Honor
That'll
650 years after it happened.
That'll hold.
Man. All right, folks, see you later.
Be good. Stay safe.